for my overview of the currency technicals. And seriously, as I said before, the major thing I look for on a Sunday is something that tweaks my interest, in particular, those currency pairs that look like they might even reverse from their week of whatever they've done. In most cases this week, that has not been evident, and we've seen momentum continue in a lot of these currency pairs. For instance, what am I looking at there? Aussie CAD. Now, a bit of a breakout of the previous range. We are yet to know whether that is going to be followed through, or whether it's going to come back and retest that breakout level, or indeed whether it goes back into range. Can't answer that question, but it's always nice to look at that scenario and see what happens when the market opens and early in the week, whether they are willing to go on with the job or not. You probably get that in your normal systems, however you trade the market, whatever you're looking for there in terms of a setup. I would be looking for, in this case, price to come back and retest that breakout level, or indeed fail to get back to there, and either one would give me an indication that there's something to look for. That's going to be the case with a lot of these pairs, the ones that have carried momentum through the week or through last week. But there are four that have tweaked my interest. The first of them is pound CAD. Now, pound CAD will be subject during midweek to whatever the Bank of Canada says in their statement. And of course, we'll be looking at that closely, as we will if you're thinking of trading these pairs that have got CAD in them in particular, what the oil price will do. Now, there is, in my opinion, a nice support level from a technical point of view on oil at the moment. That's the oil chart that I'm looking at. And it's got recent, if you like, support in this area. You can see it came off that low on or towards the end of the week, and it has got good form throughout here as resistance in the past. So I've got every reason to suspect that we'll get a little bit of buying coming in here, whether it's sufficient to drag it back. And if Ash was looking at this chart, he'd probably say, okay, we're going to get a right shoulder form up here. I'm okay with that. I'll be looking for signs that that will be the case, and that should give the CAD a little bit of respite to the poor performance that it has had over the past week or so, past few weeks. Not directly because of oil, but there have been, I think there was one bad figure against, might have been the CPI figure with the CAD, I'm not sure. But primarily, I don't mind the CAD. I think the CAD's in good shape longer term. It's just this uncertainty in the market at the moment, perhaps because of the 15th letter of the Greek alphabet. I'm not too sure, to be fair. Anyway, let's go back to that. And what I'd be seeking to do, you can see last week's candle was an absolute doji bar at the monthly pivot level and form support level. So it's not giving us any hint really as to what's going to happen next. Yet, if I drill down a little bit, I see this rising channel, or ascending channel. We appear to have bounced off the bottom of it. We appear to have closed above the pivots on Friday's bar. I would be thinking maybe a little bit more upside for this pair, maybe to take on the highs. Again, if Ash were here, he'd probably see a left shoulder ahead and a right shoulder here. That is a little bit complex, I must say. But it does appear to me as though the next direction is going to be taking on these highs. And if we can get up to here, maybe that level around about the 172.30 mark, I think that would be enough to get out of this pair before the next move, which is probably going to be in the opposite direction. We shall see. Now, there was a little bit of talk about the euro versus the dollar. Euro versus the dollar is in a spot that I find is intriguing. 113.60 is one of the levels that I used to trade. It's seemingly every day. If I was above 113.60, I'll be trading back to it. This is on 30-minute charts I'm talking about, and I'm not trading 30-minute charts per se at the moment, but it's a level that this market remembers. And if we go back in time to global financial crisis, even when we started to see a big fall in this market, going back to here, and we went into a strong trend. And then, of course, we had a funny thing called Brexit that came into our lives. And this level that I'm talking about, 113.60, and of course, there's a cloud of a price. It's somewhere between 114 and 130. But it spent forever under this level and couldn't break through it. Just couldn't think I can. And eventually it did. And I can't remember what drove it up there from a fundamental perspective, but it didn't stay there too long, came back to it, consolidated on it, then got back underneath it and found it very, very difficult to get there again. And then we have been back above that level in 2020, 2021, has seen a big decline again in euro versus the dollar, back to that level. We smashed through it. Surprisingly to me, I thought we might bounce off it, but we smashed through it last month in November, and currently we are retesting that level. I think, as maybe Lloyd pointed out, not sure, I think it was Lloyd anyway, we are now retesting that level, have retested that level and rejected it twice on the weekly chart, and it's more evident there on the daily chart. I'm not sure we're going to bounce off that anytime soon. This current price action is suggesting to me, and so is the fundamental aspect of what's going on at the moment, suggesting to me that we're going to hang around here for a little bit. Where that weekly pivot was last week, can't see it moving too far, probably just up to here somewhere maybe. I think we're going to bounce in this area for a little bit yet before we go too far. So during the week, I'll be looking to trade this maybe on a 4-hour chart as a range trade in between the two pivots, if you like, monthly pivot, weekly pivot. I think if we can get down to the bottom here and find ourselves higher lows, we can trade it fairly confidently back towards the top. And if we get up to the top, round about the monthly pivot area or these highs, then I think if we look for lower highs, we can successfully trade it back into that range. So probably smaller time frames, 4-hour and less. Swissy yen on the weekly chart was, again, the other or the third of the four that had not yielded to momentum. And again, put in a big doji bar pretty much on that monthly pivot, but also importantly on the highs here in June. So this is probably in a pivotal point, I'll put it that way. Again, I don't see too much to get enthused about. That candle there's interesting because it's come off the top of this range again, but the range is tightening, and I think you'd be, again, drilling down into the 4-hour charts and 30-minute charts to find bounces off the top, lower highs, bounces off the bottom, higher lows, and trade it that way. So I think that theme will be pretty much my go-to for the week ahead on these four pairs. The others that have got that momentum carried forward from the 2-3 weeks previous or prior, to my mind, are going to be a little bit more difficult, or you may have to wait a little bit longer to find out whether that momentum will change this week or otherwise. I'm seeing no sign of that, I've got to say. The last of them is this one, Aussie Kiwi. Aussie Kiwi pretty much travel together against the US dollar, so you'd find it very, very difficult to get a guide as to relative strength there. But, and rather, not so much, but the chart's telling me pretty much that the market has no idea what happens next with this pair either, to be honest. I do see a double rejection of the monthly pivot here, but this candle, if it were to be more or pointed, if you like, or if it was giving me a better directional bias, or if it is giving me a better directional bias, it's probably not short, because it failed to get, well, it's probably 50% into the body of that candle. But I would like to have seen that fully engulf it before I would think, okay, this is headed short again. So I'm probably biased to the upside here. Whether I can actually find a way to trade that is another story, but there is, in my mind, a range forming in here inside the 4-hour chart, or the daily chart, sorry, and we've come off the top. So I'd be waiting to hit the bottom here, test that low, then look for a higher low to trade it back to this level. And subsequent to or what I previously said about range trading, that's probably where I'll be going with this one as well. So directional bias, not easy with the currency pairs, in my humble opinion, this week. But if you can identify the ranges and find, pardon me, tops or bottoms of those ranges and look for those lower highs or higher lows bouncing off either direction, I think you probably do okay on the smaller time frames. But risk off is and I do believe that you need to probably just hold that risk factor back a little bit until the market becomes just a little bit clearer in these currency pairs. Okay, the one thing that is clear is we are now out of time. And as always, my thanks to those of you who have turned up to listen to our points of view that will carry us into the week. Thank you very much. Thanks to the presenters, as always, who give their time on a Sunday evening, as I have done. It's beer o'clock. Got to see you later. Have a good one.